Alright, welcome everyone to the Brett Horsnell break 185, 21 Traders case and priority box. That seems a bit blurry today. Maybe it's just the focus. Focus should be set to about there anyway. Alright, so we have our priority box and our case, which we'll get stuck into first. And first and foremost, let's find out our case card. Before I do that, we'll quickly run through the team list. And I will double check the microphone before we get started. Okay, so that's switched over again. Alright, that should be right now. We shouldn't have any issues with the microphone. G'day Lee, welcome to the break. Our team list: Broncos, Terry Baker; Raiders, Lee Roberts; Bulldogs, Lee Marshall; Sharks, Scott Sager; Titans, Lee Marshall; Manly, Jade Mellon; Storm, Frank Vescio; Knights, Brendan Burgess; Cowboys, Sarah Parmenta; Eels, Mark Whiting; Panthers, Jared Rees; Rabbitohs, Henry McCartney; Dragons, Brendan Burgess; Roosters, Dan Taylor; Warriors, Rachel Whiteside; and Tigers, Jade Mellons. Thank you to everyone for being a part of it. As you're all aware by now, all the proceeds from this, so the full 1,600 that was intended, has gone to Brett Horsnell. So that's to help him with ongoing medical costs caused from injuries during his playing days. Alright, now that's all out of the way, let's find our case card and get stuck into it. We are doing the break now as a bit of a rush, as we probably will not get a chance over the weekend, or tonight for that matter. Okay, for the Titans, Shannon Boyd retirement. Ooh, number 1. Oh, not bad. Yeah, let's get all these out so I can move this box, get some room, and away we go. So I realise a lot of people probably watch the replay or just look at the pictures due to the time of the break, and that is fine, guys. I prefer to get it done as early as possible rather than making anyone wait any longer. Alright, let's go. First packet. I just worked out what half my issue is with the lighting. I will fix that in 2 seconds. Tavita Funa, Rising Stars for Manly. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for the Knights. 2 seconds, guys. Alright. That should fix the glare from the side. Cody Nikorima, parallel for the Warriors. Team wildcard for the Titans. Still can't say this one. For the Roosters, parallel. Black Streeter, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for the Storm. And we are looking for a legend signature today, unlike last night when I thought we were looking for one at first. Moses Sully, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Matt Dory for the Bulldogs. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Titans. Number 1 for Lee Marshall. Latrell Mitchell, season to remember for the Rabbitohs. Final Hunt, parallel for the Knights. Michael Jennings, season to remember for the Eels. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Streeter, Elliot Whitehead for the Raiders. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Keon Kolomatangi, Rising Stars for the Rabbits. Cowboys parallel checklist. Josh Maguire, parallel for the Cowboys. Bo Formore, Rising Stars for the Titans. Dale Finucane, parallel for the Storm. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Wildcard, Tohu Harris for the Warriors. I'm a kick out, parallel for the Panthers. Wildcard, Payne Huss for the Broncos. Manly parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Hammer Fido for the Cowboys. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. White Streeter, Dylan Brown for the Eels. Dylan Watsine Zalesniak, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Charlie Staines for the Panthers. Payne Huss, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Kai O'Donnell for the Raiders. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. White Streeter, Jared Croker for the Raiders. Matt Duffy, parallel for the Dragons. Asu Kapoa, Rising Stars for the Tigers. Tom Dearden, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Blake Ferguson, parallel for the Eels. Retirement, Aiden Guerra for the Knights. Joey Tapine, parallel for the Raiders. Bradman Best, season to remember for the Knights. Warriors parallel checklist. Rising Stars, William Kennedy for the Sharks. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Star Tunes, Ashley Taylor for the Titans. Knights parallel checklist. Wildcard, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Tavita Funa, parallel for Manly. Nico Hines, Rising Stars for the Storm. Luke Keary, parallel for the Roosters. Josh Alloway, parallel for the Tigers. Club hero, Tavita Funa for Manly. Dane Gagai, parallel for the Rabbits. Adam Pompey, Rising Stars for the Warriors. Tarek Sims, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Suliasi Vunivalu for the Storm. Sean Johnson, parallel for the Sharks. Mawaiki Fodawaika, parallel for the Titans. Wildcard, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Dylan Napa, parallel for the Bulldogs. Tex Hoy, Rising Stars for the Knights. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Oregon Kafusi, Rising Stars for the Eels. Raiders parallel checklist. And that's the end of box number 1. get straight into number 2. Rising Stars, Connor Tracy for the Sharks. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for Panthers. Star Tunes, a Group A, so that'll get randomised between the first 8 teams. Broncos tonight. Jake Friend, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Josh Morris for the Roosters. Thomas McHale, parallel for the Tigers. Semi Valemi, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Rabbits. Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. Predictor number 1. Number 1 case for the Broncos. Terry Baker. Jerome Luai, parallel for the Panthers. Now, unfortunately, I'm not one of those, or one of these. But depending on who's watching, I'm pretty sure a few people could tell me what the other predictor is. I can never remember. Season to remember for the Raiders, Josh Papali. Aaron Woods, parallel for the Sharks. They basically come out in pairs in 21. It's happened over a few years, but yeah. Cameron McInnes, season to remember for the Dragons. Elias Katoa, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Brendan Wakeham for the Bulldogs. Ashley Taylor, parallel for the Titans. Kyle Felt, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Charlie Staines for the Panthers. Jared Croker, parallel for the Raiders. Wildcard, Nathan Cleary for the Panthers. Cade Cust, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Cade Cust. Brandon Best, parallel for the Knights. White Streeter, Josh Mansell for Panthers. Brendan Smith, parallel for the Storm. Club hero, Kurt Mann for the Knights. Broncos parallel checklist. Season to remember, Tavita Pengai Jr. For the Broncos, Eels Parallel Checklist. David Clemmer, Parallel for the Knights. Peter Hiku, Season to remember for the Warriors. Reece Robson, Parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Brad Parker, Parallel for Manly. Luciano Leilua, Parallel for the Tigers. Kirby Farnworth, Rising Stars for the Broncos. Tavita Tutula, Parallel for the Rabbits. Team Wildcard for the Cowboys. Bulldogs Parallel Checklist. Rising Stars, Tommy Talau for the Tigers. Xavier Coates, Parallel for the Broncos. Ryan Pappenhausen, Wildcard for the Storm. Felice Kafusi, Parallel for the Storm. Josh Jackson, White Street Art for the Bulldogs. Josh Papali, Parallel for the Raiders. Boyd Cordner, Parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Billy Walters for the Tigers. Jazz Tavega, Parallel for the Warriors. Cooper Johns, Rising Stars for the Storm. Angus Crichton, Parallel for the Roosters. Freddie Lussick, Rising Stars for the Roosters. Marcus Sivo, Parallel for the Eels. Kenny Bromwich, Star Tunes for Storm. Braden Hamlin-Yulee, Parallel for the Sharks. Campbell Graham, Parallel for the Rabbits. Wildcard, Aaron Woods for the Sharks. Paul Vaughan, Parallel for the Dragons. Kate Ellis, Rising Stars for the Dragons. Nick Meaney, Parallel for the Bulldogs. Wildcard, Adam Reynolds for the Rabbitohs. Jordan Piera, parallel for the Dragons. 2 packets left for box number 2. 4. Rising Stars, Hayes Perham for the Warriors. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Black Streeter, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Titans parallel checklist to finish off box number 2. Asu Kapoa, Rising Stars for the Tigers. Payne Haas, parallel for the Broncos. White Streeter for the Roosters. Nick Meaney, parallel for the Bulldogs. Josh Jackson, season to remember for the Bulldogs. Broncos parallel checklist. Black Authentics. 33. Brian Kelly for the Titans. Lee Marshall. Number 33. Raiders parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbits. Reece Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Toby Rudolph for the Sharks. David Clemmer, parallel for the Knights. Star Tunes, Luke Brooks for the Tigers. Titans parallel checklist. Authentic signature, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights. Tony Staggs, season to remember for the Broncos. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Bo Fulmore, Rising Stars for the Titans. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, William Kennedy for the Sharks. Paloma kick out, parallel for Panthers. Michael Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Wildcard, Cody Nikorima for the Warriors. Jerome Luai, parallel for Panthers. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Wildcard, Mitchell Pearce for the Knights. Darren Latin Zalesniak, parallel for the Bulldogs. Hammer Fido, Rising Stars for the Cowboys. Thomas McHale, parallel for the Tigers. Davida Funa, Rising Stars for Manly. Primal Hunt, parallel for the Knights. Oregon Kafusi, Rising Stars for the Eels. Jared Croker, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Cody Nikorima, parallel for the Warriors. Eliza Katoa, parallel for the Warriors. Team Wildcard for the Eels. Boyd Cordner, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Tex Hoy for the Knights. Josh Maguire, parallel for the Cowboys. Wildcard, Jason Tormalolo for the Cowboys. Manly parallel checklist. Streeter, Apexite Coruscant for the Panthers. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for the Knights. Kai O'Donnell, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Tavita Tatula, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Nico Hines for the Storm, parallel for the Roosters. Jake Trbojevic, White Street Art for Manly. Jordan Piera, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Jack Whiten for the Raiders. Braden Hamlin Yuli, parallel for the Sharks. Club hero, Kieran Foran for the Bulldogs. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Matt Dory for the Bulldogs. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Adam Pompey for the Warriors. Matt Duffy, parallel for the Dragons. Black Streeter, Josh Mansell for the Panthers. Cowboys parallel checklist. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Jesse Ramian parallel for the Sharks. 2 packets left of box number 3. Wild card, Alex Glenn for the Broncos. Moses Sulai, parallel for Manly. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Titans. And that is it for box number 3. Before I do that, just want a quick drink. Alright, let's go. Box number 4. Yeehaw. Jermaine Tunua Brown, Rising Stars for the Warriors. Sharks parallel checklist. Latrell Mitchell, White Streeter for the Rabbits. Corey Thompson, parallel for the Titans. Season to remember, Cameron Smith for the Storm. Jordan McLean, parallel for the Cowboys. Oh, good. Bradman Best, Rising Stars for the Knights. Daly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Xavier Coates, Rising Stars for the Broncos. Dragons parallel checklist. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for the Knights. Team wildcard for the Dragons. Jerome Hughes, parallel for the Storm. Dunamis Luai, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Anari Tuala for the Knights. Peter Hiku, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Caleb Aikens for the Panthers. Chanel Harris-Tavita, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Isaac Lumiloom for the Storm. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Wildcard, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for the Raiders. Star Platoons, Adam Elliott for the Bulldogs. Josh Hodgson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Sean Blaw, Rising Stars for the Tigers. Tony Staggs, parallel for the Broncos. Black Streeter for the Roosters. Jadria Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Excuse me. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbits. Wildcard, Luciano Leilua for the Tigers. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Ashley Taylor for the Titans. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Pawasa Farmasuli for the Roosters. Dylan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Ronaldo Mulatalo, White Street Art for the Sharks. Stephen Crichton, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Tigers, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Max Figai for the Dragons. Jake Avarillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. Wildcard, Will Hopper-Wade for the Bulldogs. Brian Kelly, parallel for Titans. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for Broncos. Trayman Spry, Rising Stars for the Titans. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for Storm. Club Heroes, Andrew Davey for the Eels. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Bailey Sirenen for the Rabbits. Hammer Fido, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Ronaldo Mulitalo for the Sharks. Lachlan Fitzgibbon, parallel for the Knights. Wildcard, Boyd Cordner for the Roosters. George Williams, parallel for the Raiders. Star Tunes, Payne Huss for the Broncos. And Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Parallel. 5 packets left for box number 4. Rising Stars, Mitchell Dunn for the Cowboys. Dylan Edwards, parallel for the Panthers. Season to remember, Jake Averillo for the Bulldogs. Alex Twal, parallel for the Tigers. Foil Sig, Eliza Katoa for the Warriors. Curtis Sirenen, parallel for Manly. Raymond Faitala Mariner, parallel for the Bulldogs. Dylan Brown, Rising Stars for the Eels. Jake Turpin, parallel for the Broncos. Alright, let's go. Box number 5. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Team wildcard for the Bulldogs. Philip Semi, parallel for the Titans. Jackson Paulo, Rising Stars for the Rabbits. Michael Morgan, parallel for the Cowboys. Liam Martin, parallel for the Panthers. White Streeter, Milwaukee Fotowaka for the Titans. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Alex Johnston for the Rabbits. Kurt Mann, parallel for Knights. Rising Stars, Lachlan Lamb for the Roosters. Regan Campbell-Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Tanner Boyd, Rising Stars for the Titans. Kenny Bromwich, parallel for Storm. Star Tunes, Martin Tapau for Manly. Storm parallel checklist. Wildcard, Tommy Turbo for Manly. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Connolly Lumilu for the Cowboys. Luke Brooks, parallel for the Tigers. Black Streeter, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. Luke Thompson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Sonny Bill Williams for the Roosters. Tommy Talau, parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for the Panthers. Herbie Farmworth, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Ray Stone for the Eels. Chance Nicole Klokstad, parallel for the Raiders. David Fusitua, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Adam Clune for the Dragons. Adam Elliott, parallel for the Bulldogs. Wildcard, Brian Kelly for the Titans. Brett Morris, parallel for the Roosters. Halfway through, box number 5. Rising Stars, Thomas Starling for the Raiders. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbits. Retirements, Shannon Boyd for the Titans. Adam Clune, parallel for the Dragons. Corey Oates, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, Clint Gutherson for the Eels. Chad Townsend, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Jake Averillo for the Bulldogs. Anthony Don, parallel for the Titans. Wildcard, Jack Whiten for the Raiders. Josh Hodgson, parallel for the Raiders. Club Heroes, Mr. Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Darlene Holmes, parallel for the Cowboys. Amoli Olika-Atu, Rising Stars for Manly. Tanila Paseka, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Stephen Crichton for Panthers. Ken Mormalo, parallel for the Warriors. Ben Hunt, white street art for the Dragons. Josh Morris, parallel for the Roosters. Hammerfido, season to remember for the Cowboys. Kalen Ponga, parallel for the Knights. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for the Storm. Mikhail Ravalawa, season to remember for the Dragons. The Rabbitohs parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Tessie New for the Broncos. Zach Lomax, parallel for the Dragons. Braden Trindle, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Clint Gutherson, parallel for the Eels. 3 packets left for box number 5. Wildcard, Clint Gutherson for the Eels. Panthers parallel checklist. Mitchell Moses, Star Tunes for the Eels. David Nofaluma, parallel for the Tigers. Wade Graham, parallel for the Sharks. Put this one up and then the other way. Alright, box number 6, here we come. Ray Stone, Rising Stars for the Eels. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Raiders. Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Ben Hunt, white street art for the Dragons. Luke Keary, parallel for the Roosters. Wildcard, Milwaukee Fotuaika for the Titans. Roosters, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Tom Starling for the Raiders. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Dane Gagai, parallel for the Rabbits. Retirement for the Broncos, Darius Boyd. Cameron McInnes, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Lachlan Lamb for the Roosters. Blake Ferguson, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Clint Gutherson for the Eels. Sione Katoa, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Jake Averillo for the Bulldogs. Tanner Boyd, parallel for the Titans. Club Heroes, Brian Kelly for the Titans. Jason Taumalolo, parallel for the Cowboys. Tessie New, Rising Stars for the Broncos. Tarek Sims, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars for Molly Olaka'atu for Manly. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Hammer Fido for the Cowboys. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Star Tunes, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Nelson Asofa Solomona, parallel for the Storm. Storm parallel checklist. Braden Trindle, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Regan Campbell Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Wildcard, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Adam Clune for the Dragons. Dylan Napa, parallel for the Bulldogs. Sean Johnson, parallel for the Sharks. Nathan Cleary, parallel for the Panthers. Team Wildcard for the Storm. Milwaukee Fodawaka, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Jackson Paulo for the Rabbitohs. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Tommy Dearden, parallel for the Broncos. Milwaukee Fodawaka, White Streeter for Titans. Tavita Funa, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Knights parallel checklist. Season to remember, Sonny Bill Williams for the Roosters. Josh Ally parallel for the Tigers. Tanner Boyd, Rising Stars for the Titans. Cameron Munster, parallel for the Storm. Reid Mahoney, sorry, parallel for the Eels. Wildcard, Chance and Nicole Klokstad for the Raiders. Joey Tapine, parallel for the Raiders. Wildcard, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly. Rising Stars, Connolly Lumi Lulu. Joey Lolua for the Tigers. Black Street Art of Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs. Will Hopewade parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Stephen Crichton for Panthers. Warriors parallel checklist. 2 more packets for box number 6. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for Panthers and Thomas Swegler parallel for the Broncos. Star Tunes, Sean Johnson for the Sharks. Tommy Talau parallel for the Tigers. We'll clean this up. Box number 7. Let's go. Jake Trbojevic, White Street Art for Manly. Tarek Sims, parallel for the Dragons. Warriors parallel checklist. Team Wildcard for the Knights. Luke Keary parallel for the Roosters. Asu Kapoa Rising Stars for the Tigers, Thomas Flagler, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Kai O'Donnell for the Raiders. Dane Gagai, parallel for the Rabbits. Manly, parallel checklist. William Kennedy, Rising Stars for the Sharks. At Coruscant, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Keon Kolomitini for the Rabbits. Josh Maguire, parallel for the Cowboys. Toby Rudolph, season to remember for the Sharks. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Katoni Staggs for Broncos. Reed Marnie, parallel for the Eels. Star Tunes, Group A. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Bo Formore for the Titans. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for the Storm. Blake Ferguson, parallel for the Eels. Wildcard, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Joseph Leilua, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Hamid Fido for the Cowboys. Josh Alloway, parallel for the Tigers. White Streeter for the Roosters. Dylan Napa, parallel for the Bulldogs. Wildcard, David Clemmer for the Knights. Will Hopewade, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs. Tommy Duden, parallel for the Broncos. Yeah. Congratulations to Mr. Jared Reeves, scoring himself a Premiership Panthers predictor, number 31. He would want it, you reckon? He should just give it back to us. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Jack Whiten for the Raiders. Sean Johnson, parallel for the Sharks. Matt Dory, Rising Stars for the Bulldogs. Milwaukee, Fodawaika, parallel for the Titans. Season to remember, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Wildcard, Corey Oates for the Broncos. Tavita Funa, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Nico Hines for Storm. Roosters, parallel checklist. Tavita Funa, Rising Stars for Manly. Knights, parallel checklist. Black Streeter, Cody Nicarima for the Warriors. Cameron Munster, parallel for the Storm. Season to remember, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Sione Katoa, parallel for the Sharks. Wildcard, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Adam Pompey for the Warriors. Cameron McInnes, parallel for the Dragons. Star Tunes, Kenny Bromwich for the Storm. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Club Hero, Cameron McInnes for the Dragons. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Rabbits. Tanner Boyd, parallel for the Titans. Tex Hoy, Rising Stars for the Knights. Jason Tormalolo, parallel for the Cowboys. Oregon Kafusi, Rising Stars for the Eels. Joey Tapine, parallel for the Raiders. That's the end of box number 7. Let's go, box number 8. Wildcard, Josh Hodgson for the Raiders. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Tom Starling for the Raiders. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. Retirement, Gerard Beale for the Sharks. Dragons, Zach Lomax, parallel. Sione Katoa, parallel for the Sharks. Jared Croker, season to remember for the Raiders. Wade Graham, parallel for the Sharks. Jake Averillo, Rising Stars for the Bulldogs. Philip Semi, parallel for Titans. Tessie New, Rising Stars for Broncos. Cameron McInnes, parallel for the Dragons. Josh Papali, Club Heroes for the Raiders. Michael Morgan, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Hamoli Olakaatu for Manly. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, David Fafita. Kurt Mann, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Philip Semi for the Titans. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Kenny Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. Lachlan Lamb, Rising Stars for the Roosters. Reid Marnie, parallel for the Eels. Braden Trindle, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. White Streeter, Hammer Fido for the Cowboys. Roosters parallel checklist. Wildcards, Ryan Madison for the Eels. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for the Panthers. Star Tunes, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Luke Brooks, parallel for the Tigers. Stephen Crichton, Rising Stars for the Panthers. Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Star Tunes, Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. Cameron Munster, parallel for the Storm. Team wildcard for the Raiders. Tanner Boyd, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, Jackson Paulo for the Rabbitohs. Jason Taumalolo, parallel for the Cowboys. Upside Coruscant, parallel for Panthers. Patrick Carrigan, white streeter for the Broncos. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Sione Katoa, season to remember for the Sharks. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly. Joey Leilua, parallel for the Tigers. Whoa. Tanner Boyd, Rising Stars for the Titans. Storm, parallel checklist. Black Street Art, Milwaukee Fotowaka for the Titans. Regan Campbell Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Wildcard, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Liam Martin, parallel for the Panthers. Rising Stars, Adam Clune for the Dragons. Will Hopewade, parallel for the Bulldogs. Finally, Lumi Lou for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Tommy Talau, parallel for the Tigers. 6 packets left for box number 8. Stephen Crichton, authentic foil sig for the Panthers. Adam Elliott, parallel for the Bulldogs. So those foil sigs have been replaced with the initial cards this year. Nick Meaney, season to remember for the Bulldogs. Corey Oates, parallel for the Broncos. Thomas Flegler, parallel for the Broncos. Ray Stone, Rising Stars for the Eels. Josh Hodgson, parallel for the Raiders. Ken Momalo, parallel for the Warriors. Wildcard, Alexander Brimson for the Titans, and Josh Morris, parallel for the Roosters. And that finishes off box number 8. Let's go. Season to remember, Chanel Harris-Tavita for the Warriors. Valentine Holmes, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Braden Best for the Knights. Tanila Paseka, parallel for Manly. Hey, where are we? Number 106, Frank Vescio, the Adokar, top tries for Storm. Gary Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Alan Ponga, parallel for the Knights. Team wildcard for the Tigers. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for the Storm. Sean Bloor, Rising Stars for the Tigers. Herbie Farmworth, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Xavier Coates for the Broncos. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for the Dragons. Chance Nicole Klokstad, parallel for the Raiders. Benji Marshall, season to remember for the Tigers. David Fusitu'a, parallel for the Warriors. Sharks parallel checklist. Star Tunes, Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Luke Thompson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Isaac Lumiloom for the Storm. Brett Morris, parallel for the Roosters. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbits. Wildcard Luke Brooks for the Tigers. Adam Clune, parallel for the Dragons. Wildcard Adam Elliott for the Bulldogs. Corey Thompson, parallel for the Titans. Jermaine Tanua Brown, Rising Stars for the Warriors. Chad Townsend, parallel for the Sharks. Bailey Sirenen, Rising Stars for the Rabbitohs. Jordan McLean, parallel for the Cowboys. Moses Mbai, white streeter for the Tigers. Anthony Don, parallel for the Titans. Adam Reynolds, a season to remember for the Rabbits. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Pawasa Farmasuli for the Roosters. Clint Gufferson, parallel for the Eels. White Streeter, Mitchell Barnett for the Knights. Panthers parallel checklist. Trayman Sprite, Rising Stars for the Titans. Jerome Hughes, parallel for the Storm. Mitchell Orbison, season to remember for the Roosters. David Nofaluma, parallel for the Tigers. Max Feagai, Rising Stars for the Dragons. Josh Jackson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Club Heroes, Sean Johnson for the Sharks. Dylan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Tony Staggs, parallel for the Broncos. Wildcard, Zach Lomax for the Dragons. Lunamus Luai, parallel for the Raiders. Nothing numbered so far. Jake Avarillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. Star Tunes, RTS for the Warriors. Chanel Harris Tavita, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Mitchell Dunn for the Cowboys. Stephen Crichton, parallel for the Panthers. Caleb Aikens, Rising Stars for Panthers. Peter Hiku, parallel for the Warriors. Black Streeter, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Josh Mansell for the Panthers. Tigers parallel checklist. Season to remember, Cody Ramsey for the Dragons. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Dylan Brown for the Eels. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for the Broncos. Wildcard, James Tedesco for the Roosters. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for the Raiders. Get rid of that one. Pull this one up. Get rid of that one too. Alright. So box number 10, guys. Wildcard, Dylan Napa for the Bulldogs. Ashley Taylor, parallel for the Titans. Bailey Sheridan, Rising Stars for the Rabbitohs. Carl Felt, parallel for the Cowboys. Palasa Farmasuli, Rising Stars for the Roosters. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for the Raiders. Cody Ramsey, season to remember for the Dragons. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Rabbits. Benji Marshall, season to remember for the Tigers. Chanel Harris-Tavita, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Isaac Loomy for the Storm. Jared Rara Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbits. Star Tunes, Martin Tapau for Manly. Jake Avarillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. Sean Bloor, Rising Stars for the Tigers. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for the Broncos. Wildcard, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Dragons, parallel checklist. Xavier Coates, Rising Stars for the Broncos. Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. Jermaine Tanua-Brown, Rising Stars for the Warriors. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. White Streeter, Moses Mbai for the Tigers. Brian Kelly, parallel for the Titans. Chanel Harris-Tavita, season 2 member for the Warriors. Hammer Fido, parallel for the Cowboys. Aaron Woods, parallel for the Sharks. Bradman Best, Rising Stars for the Knights. Curtis Serenan, parallel for Manly. Lachlan Fitzgibbon, parallel for the Knights. White Streeter, Mitchell Barnett for the Knights. Dylan Edwards, parallel for the Panthers. Season to remember, Mitchell Orbison for the Roosters. Alex Twal, parallel for the Tigers. White Authentic, number 3. Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Sarah Pimenta. Cade Cust, parallel for Manly. Max Fegai, Rising Stars for the Dragon. Raymond Fatala Mariner, parallel for the Bulldogs. Jake Turpin, parallel for the Broncos. Wildcard, Paul Vaughan for the Dragons. George Williams, parallel for the Raiders. Adam Reynolds, season 2 member for the Rabbits. Braden Best, parallel for the Knights. Caleb Aikens, Rising Stars for the Panthers. RTS, parallel for the Warriors. Wild card, Luke Keary for the Roosters. Josh Papali, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Mitchell Dunn for the Cowboys. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for the Panthers. Star Tunes, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Jose Tavega, parallel for the Warriors. Black Streeter, Moses Embi for the Tigers. Jake Friend, parallel for the Roosters. Trayman Spry, Rising Stars for the Titans. Brendan Smith, parallel for the Storm. Season to remember, Josh Mansell for the Panthers. Luciano Leilua, parallel for the Tigers. 4 packets left for box number 10. Bulldogs parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Dylan Brown for the Eels. Xavier Coates, parallel for the Broncos. Club Heroes, Victor Radley for the Roosters. Parramatta Eels, parallel checklist. Maybe. Can't remember. Team wildcard for the Panthers. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. Alright guys, bear with me for a minute. I am just going to run to the toilet. Alright, we are back. Drink it out. I fill back up again. Alright, let's tidy these ones up. And we'll get into our final 3 boxes. 2 more hobby boxes and a priority box left to go. Making a mess. Get out of there. There we go. Gotcha. Close you up. Put you away. There we go. You're done. Let's go. 1, 2, 3 boxes left. Young Tony Maipe for the Titans, season to remember. Jazz Tavega, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Semi Valemi for the Raiders. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Cooper Johns for the Storm. Jake Friend, parallel for the Roosters. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Rabbits. Wildcard, Cody Walker for the Rabbits. Paul Vaughan, parallel for the Dragons. Wildcard, Wade Graham for the Sharks. Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Hayes Perham for the Warriors. Aaron Woods, parallel for the Sharks. Black Streeter, Renato Mulatalo for the Sharks. Ashley Taylor, parallel for the Titans. Herbie Farnworth, Rising Stars for the Broncos. Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Cameron Smith for Storm. Kyle Felt, parallel for the Cowboys. Phoenix Crossland, Rising Stars for the Knights. Cade Cust, parallel for Manly. Dragons parallel checklist. Star Tunes, Angus Crichton for the Roosters. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Wildcard, Felice Kafusi for the Storm. Brendan Smith, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Freddie Lussick for the Roosters. Eels parallel checklist. Joel Thompson, retirement for Manly. Zio, parallel for the Panthers. Star Tunes, a Group B. Jared Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Micah Sivo for the Eels. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Brendan Wakeham, Rising Stars for the Bulldogs. Brian Kelly, parallel for the Titans. Season to remember, Martin Tapau. Luciano Leilua, parallel for the Tigers. Amafito, parallel for the Cowboys. Wildcard, Happy Coruscant for the Panthers. Curtis Sirenen, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Cade Ellis for the Dragons. Bulldogs parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Cade Cust for Manly. Lachlan Fitzgibbon, parallel for the Knights. White Streeter, Cody Nikorima for the Warriors. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. Season to remember, Gavin Cooper for the Cowboys. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Charlie Staines for Panthers. Josh Papali, parallel for the Raiders. Connor Tracy, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Dylan Edwards, parallel for Panthers. Alex Twal, parallel for the Tigers. Broncos Club Heroes, Patrick Kerrigan. Xavier Coates, parallel for the Broncos. Team Wildcard for the Warriors. Raymond Faitala Mariner, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Tommy Talau for the Tigers. Jake Turpin, parallel for the Broncos. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Ryan Pappenhausen, White Streeter for the Storm. George Williams, parallel for the Raiders. Kalen Ponga, season to remember for the Knights. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, parallel for the Warriors. That's the end of box of 11. So 2 boxes left to go in the break. 1 hobby, 1 priority. Let's go. Rising Stars, Freddie Lussick for the Roosters. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Retirement, Mitchell Orbison for the Roosters. Line kick out, parallel for the Panthers. Paul Vaughan, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Martin Tapau for Manly. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Kate Ellis, Rising Stars for the Dragons. Jalen Watine-Zelezniak, parallel for the Bulldogs. Club Heroes, RTS for the Warriors. Payne Haas, parallel for the Broncos. Thomas McHale, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Charlie Staines for the Panthers. Raiders, parallel checklist. Season to remember, young Tony Maipe for the Titans. Cody Nikarima, parallel for the Warriors. Connor Tracy, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Jerome Luai, parallel for the Panthers. Rising Stars, Braden Wakeham for the Bulldogs. Titans parallel checklist. Parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Herbie Farnworth for the Broncos. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. White Streeter, Cody Nikarima for the Warriors. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Storm. Season to remember, Gavin Cooper for the Cowboys. Mark Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Wildcard, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Matt Duffy, parallel for the Dragons. Star Tunes, Payne Haas for the Broncos. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Team Wildcard for the Rabbitohs. Nick Meaney, parallel for the Bulldogs. Reece Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Tommy Talau for the Tigers. Titans haven't done too bad, that's for sure. Broncos parallel checklist. Brings back the old saying, Titans always hit. Ryan Pappenhausen, White Streeter for the Storm. Jared Croker, parallel for the Raiders. Wildcard, Isaiah Yeo for Panthers. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Kalen Ponga, season to remember for the Knights. Eliza Katoa, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Cooper Johns for the Storm. Boyd Cordner, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Cade Cust for Manly. David Clemmer, parallel for the Knights. Black Streeter, Mitchell Barnett for the Knights. Tavita Tatala, parallel for the Rabbits. Wildcard, Sean Johnson for the Sharks. Jordan Piera, parallel for the Dragons. Hayes Perham, Rising Stars for the Warriors. Braden Hamlin-Yulee, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Micah Sivo for the Eels. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Foil signature, Josh Kerr for the Dragons. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Season to remember, Cameron Smith for the Storm. Cowboys parallel checklist. Star Tunes, Adam Elliott for the Bulldogs. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Moses Sulai, parallel for Manly. Final Hunt, parallel for the Knights. Luke Keary, parallel, no. There we go, starting to be too long now. One box to go. Jesse Bromwich, wildcard for the Storm. And Adele Finucane, parallel for the Storm. Last hobby packet before we get stuck into the priority box. Sammy Valemi, Rising Stars for the Raiders, and Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. Let's go. Alright, let's go. Keon Kolomatangi, Rising Stars for the Rabbitohs. Hammer Fido, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, the Jack Whiten for the Raiders. Aaron Woods, parallel for the Sharks. Curtis Sirenen, parallel for Manly. William Kennedy, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Matt Dory for the Bulldogs. Ashley Taylor, parallel for the Titans. Toby Rudolph, season to remember for the Sharks. Lachlan Fitzgibbon, parallel for the Knights. Kyle Felt, parallel for the Cowboys. So 4 more. Rising Stars for the Titans. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. Luciano Leilua, parallel for the Tigers. Wildcard Payne Huss for the Broncos. Cade Cust, parallel for Manly. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Tavita Funa for Manly. Braden Best, parallel for the Knights. Wildcard, Tohu Harris for the Warriors. Dylan Edwards, parallel for the Panthers. Cody Nikorima, Black Street Up for the Warriors. Brendan Smith, parallel for the Storm. Titans parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Hammer Fido for the Cowboys. Alex Twal, parallel for Tigers. Season to remember, Tony Staggs for Broncos. Eels parallel checklist. White Street Art for the Roosters. Raymond Fatala Mariner, parallel for the Bulldogs. Wildcard, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Bulldogs parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Tex Hoy for the Knights. Reece Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Asuka Poa for the Tigers. Xavier Coates, parallel for the Broncos. Wildcard, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Aiden Guerra, retirements for the Knights. Josh Papali, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs. Jake Turpin, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Jazz Tavega, parallel for the Warriors. Star Tunes, Ashley Taylor for the Titans. David Clemmer, parallel for the Knights. Oregon Kafusi, Rising Stars for the Eels. George Williams, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Nico Hines for the Storm. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, parallel for the Warriors. First priority hit. Number 17, Club Hero Kieran Cloran for the Bulldogs. Number 17, Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. Second priority hit, number 15, team wildcard for the Knights. Jake Friend, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Adam Pompey for the Warriors. Paul Vaughan, parallel for the Dragons. Kai O'Donnell, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Star Tunes, Elliot Whitehead for the Raiders. Brian Kelly, parallel for the Titans. White Streeter, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. And to finish us off, Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. So before we finish the video, we have to randomise our header cards, our Star Tune header cards. Unfortunately, no legends. Would have been nice. So our first two that we pulled out were the Star Tunes Group A. So we'll randomise them first. We will switch over. There we go. So the first 8 teams on the list. Number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3 for the first one. Scott Sager with the Sharks, and we have another one of them, so we will restart. Number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Lee Roberts with the Raiders. And to finish this off completely, the last thing we have is the Star Tunes Group B. We only have one of them, so let's go. Number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Brendan Burgess with the Dragons. Alright, well, thank you everyone for being a part of it. Congratulations to those that were lucky enough to hit big. You're welcome, Lee. Thanks for being a part of it, mate. Thank you to everyone, and we'll see you again next time.